Nintendo Switch Lite. See what's going on here. They say it's a bad port. And it most definitely looks like a, see if I can get that in view for you, bad port issue. So, we know what we have to do. We have to disassemble. We have to remove the port. No point in testing while that port's still on here because those pins in that bent section are probably no longer insulated from each other. So, anyway, we will disassemble. We will pull the board. We will pull the port and go from there. Okay, we have the board out of the housing and we're preparing to remove our port. While I'm setting up my equipment and changing gloves and etc., I will throw up my temps. These are the expected temps for this job. If something crops up where I have to use a different temperature or airspeed, I will note it in the video. So these temperatures are always subject to change mid-job, but these are my expected temperatures for this repair. Okay, switch you over to microscope. Get you centered on here and get my microscope head at an angle, comfortable angle. Had to lift it for another job. So. Alright, so we are going to do what we always do. We're going to flood this with low melt, everything we can see anyway, and then we'll bring the sauce, blow it off the board, and do our testing from there. Alright, let's have a look and make sure we had a good clean pull. Looks good to me. No copper pads sticking to the pins there. That is a sign of a good pull. Now we need to clear any bridges we have on this side so we can do testing if we have any. And I'm not seeing any, so that's good. Alright, so we're going to do some testing around the N92T36 just to be sure that there's no issue there. And in order to do that, we need to connect our meter. Not that it matters that much because we'll be using continuity primarily through this. So all I'm doing in continuity mode is I'm listening for a beep. Alright, so find ourselves a good ground plane. We're going to check these capacitors. What we're checking is the capacitors, which will always have a one side is ground, but we want to check the line going to the chip. Now there will be occasions where there will be a capacitor with two lines going to the chip and one side will always be ground, just remember that. So, but generally speaking, we don't want the lines going to the chip to be shorted to ground or have any pathway to ground. Appears we do have a pathway to ground on this one. Maybe not. Was I touching something? Nope, I've fallen off the ground. That's what happened. Alright, so it does appear we have a short on M92T36. That should not be there. Now this one has two lines going, so one side will always be ground. Alright, so this capacitor right here is shorted to ground, which means our M92T36 is bad. We're going to have to change that. Alright, let's check around our BQ24193. It usually has a bunch of them that with two lines going to the chip, so one of them, as always, will be ground. That side. Alright, BQ seems okay, but our M92T36 is going to have to be changed. Alright, let's check and make sure that capacitor is no longer short. If it is, then we have other issues. Alright, looks good. So that short is no longer present. We will put a new N92 T36 chip on there. Okay, placement looks good. Let's test again. Just doing that to make sure I have a good connection to ground. And no more shorts. Excellent. Excellent. Alright, I'm going to take a moment to clean the board off before we start cleaning up for the repair on the port. Alright, we're going to clean off the rest of the board, clean up the area and prepare for a new port, but then we got to modify a port to fit the excitement of working on Switch Lites. We're as prepped as we can be for the new port, but we've got the joyous task of having to modify a port to fit in the Nintendo Switch Lite, because the Nintendo Switch ports do not fit in the Switch Lite. And you cannot get Nintendo Switch Lite ports that are not pools. And generally speaking, you know, if I were doing my own pool, I know I could trust my own pool, but I don't tend to trust other people's pools. So we will modify this down to match this. There's a little melt there. So basically we're going to file it down to those two tabs right there, so that it will pretty much match this guy and it will fit in the housing. If you do not follow it down, it will not fit in. The plastic housing will not fit onto the system, so you have to follow it down. No choice. Anyway, we're going to do that and we'll be back. Okay, looks like it went pretty well. I didn't do it on camera this time because anytime I do it on camera, I got to do it on my second bench and I have all their parts sprued about. And I don't need metal shavings all over the parts, so I just went ahead and did it off camera, and it looks like we did an alright job. Filed it down. We don't have any, metal shavings or anything anywhere that we don't want them, and the plastic housing should fit over it. So now we're going to continue our work Turn our fume back extractor back on, and we're going to prep the new port and put it on and go from there. Okay, I found a shield that I think will protect the connectors from above, because as we saw in the last videos, I attempted to heat from below and I really wasn't liking the results I was getting from doing that. So I'm going to go back to my old method of heating from above, and hopefully this shield will protect those connectors adequately enough for me to get this on the board. It's leaded solder, so it doesn't take near as long, but we still need to heat the board up enough to wet the solder. This is the same way I do the standard Nintendo Switch ports, so we'll get to it. It feels solid. Definitely my more comfortable method, but let's make sure we didn't burn connectors. And awesomely, we did not. That's fantastic. Now my method is we rapidly move the air so that it's never concentrated in one area too long, and what we're trying to do is build up the heat on the board enough to wet the solder and the hidden joints. So we're rapidly moving, so we're never in one place long enough to burn plastic, and we just wait for the board to heat up. It does take a little bit of patience, and you got to move that air rapidly. But the problem with doing it on the Switch Lite is these plastic connectors right here, but it appears a little iPhone shield here, or iPad, I'm not sure. It could be an iPad or iPhone shield. Plus the copper shim did the trick, and nothing burned. Fantastic, and that's probably the method I'm going to use going forward, because I attempted the underheating method a lot of other people use, and by all means use the method that works for you, but I attempted that and I'm just not comfortable with it. I was getting really inconsistent results with that, so we're not going to do that anymore. So we're just going to go back to our old method. We'll protect these connectors with the shield, and that should be good enough. Anyway, let's continue with the installation. Okay, I believe we are reasonably prepared for a test. Just want to check the port real quick and make sure there's no shavings or anything inside of it. That could be a problem. Nah, everything looks good. Fabulous. Alright, let's plug it in. See if we get reasonably normal behavior. That'll look reasonably normal there. Let's try the other side. That'll look reasonably normal there. Awesome. Okay. And since we do have the battery connector for this model as well. Might as well make sure it's booting normally. We're attempting to do so. For that, we will use the OEM to activate. We will need to turn on the channel. We are looking at channel 2 in this case. We did not leave the OEM long enough. Oh, we're on the wrong voltage. That doesn't help. We were doing another repair. Alright, we want to see a slow climb in amperage, typically. And that appears to be what we're getting. Very good. So we're getting what looks like relatively normal behavior. Both sides. And through the battery. So very good. We will reassemble. And enough to do some testing. And then we'll go from there. Okay, I think we're ready and we're together enough to do some testing anyway. Not totally assembled, but enough to power it up and make sure things are working. Let's make sure we get video and okay. So on their battery we're dead, but we're getting to the battery symbol. So I'm going to take that as a good sign. I'm going to assemble it enough to do testing once we get it charged up, but we're going to have to let the battery charge. I do not have a known good battery on that, and it would be difficult to test with a known good battery because this cable right here goes right over the battery connector. So anyway, we will put together enough to do some testing once the battery is charged up, but that'll be the next thing. I'm going to put it back together enough, and then we'll let it charge on its own battery, and I'll come back once we're ready to perform some more thorough tests. Okay, we're back up and running. You can see the fan spinning there, and now pop you up over to the other scene here 1 second so you can check out functionality with me. Okay, so we're in Korean or something for some reason, but I don't know. But as you can see, we're charging. We're back up on its own battery. Everything seems to be working. All right. These Joy-Cons have been seen better days, but they're working. Everything's working. There is no dock test or anything to perform, so it's really, does it charge, does it work? Let me throw the game in, make sure the game cartridge reader is still working. Yep, it's seen the Minecraft. Apparently it's Minecraft. They tore the sticker off the game card, so couldn't tell. Anyway, it appears to be working, so all that's really left is to reassemble. Let me throw it on the power supply so you can see that it's charging as it should be on both sides. Fast charging on one side. And fast charging on the other. Okay, that's really all we have for this repair. I'm not going to make you suffer through the reassembly. Because there's no post-testing needed after that. All I'm going to do is put on the back case. So, in summary, we had a messed up port. We had to remove the port before we could do any testing. Once we removed the report, we did discover a secondary problem with the M92T36 PMIC chip. It was shorted on one capacitor, so we had to pull that chip and make sure it relieved the short before proceeding. Always pull the chip, make sure it relieves the short before you proceed with the repair, because you could end up just wasting parts, and the M92T36s are still about $9 a chip. So, and the ports are not, the cheapest thing in the world either. So, don't waste your parts before you figure out if the device can be repaired to begin with. So we removed the chip. We made sure that relieved the short. It did. So we put a new chip on, made sure the short did not return. It did not. So that was solved. We went and proceeded with the port repair. The port requires modification. You have to grind it down to the size of the Switch Lite port, at least at this point, or at least at the point of this recording. Light ports are not available except for pools, and like I said, I don't trust anybody's pool but my own. That's probably a good policy. That's really it for this one. The port replacement went smoothly. We came up with a new kind of way of, or a different kind of way of protecting those connectors that worked really well. I was really happy with that. So that'll be my way going forward. I decided I don't like underheating. I don't like heating from below on the ports. It just doesn't work for me. It works for other people. Some people do it great, but it just doesn't work for me. I gotta do it from above. That's just my method. Do what works for you always. Anyway, that's all we have for this repair. If you have any questions about the equipment I use in this video, take a look in the description below. They're all at Amazon affiliate link now, so if you click on any of those links and purchase anything on Amazon at that time, it will help the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. I do have plans to eventually upgrade the equipment here, but right now I don't personally have the means. If you have any questions at all, please post them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them or direct you somewhere that can answer them. There are also some other support links in the description if you want to take advantage of those. Patreon and PayPal are down there. If you like the video and you like this type of video, do me a favor, hit the like button on your way out. And if you want to see more videos like it, hit the subscribe button and maybe the notification bell. You'll know when I post videos, which right now is about twice a week. Same days every week, Mondays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Those are just the days I chose. There was no metric or anything that told me to choose them. So, and that's really all I had to ask of you. I appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.